Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program we have Gemz. I had the chance to talk to Jen Wood and Chen about their new collaboration with the band Gemz. I guess it's not the newest, but it's because it's been around for a couple years. But it's fairly fresh, and they have a new EP out called Sonic Ritual, which is coming out on October 22nd, right around the corner. Had a chance to listen to it, definitely recommend it. We're going to get into Gemz here in just a few minutes. But before we do, let me share kind of a little bit about what's going on in my world, which is the concerts I went to yesterday. Yes, concerts plural. I am one for fitting in anything and everything if I have the ability to. I don't slow down very often. So today I'm actually going to relax and watch some Ozark and some football and just chill as much as I can, but I'm generally not good at slowing down. And so I went to two concerts yesterday, and I'll kind of share a little bit about those concerts and what I experienced. So both were in San Francisco. So I left around 2:30 from my house, which should have been about an hour and a half away from the show. It may be a little less, even give or take, right? So I left more than enough time, but by the time I got to the Bay Bridge, it was just dead, stopped, just completely stopped. And I was cool at first, and then time just keeps passing, and I don't like to just look at maps, but I opened it up a couple times and saw the time increasingly getting higher. I was on my way to see a band called Lawrence. I was invited to their super VIP sound check by their management, which was awesome. I was invited to the show also, but I couldn't stay for the show because I had a ticket to something corporate. And if you're a fan of this program or have listened to this program a lot, you probably know I'm a fan of something corporate. They're one of my favorite bands. So they come first in the books, even though I saw them probably about 6 weeks ago up in Seattle. But them playing on my home turf in San Francisco at the Warfield, which is where they played at their reunion tour probably about 12 years ago. I wasn't going to miss that. So I was invited last week again by management of the band Lawrence to go check out their VIP sets. They had two VIP sets that they were doing. One for the super VIP fans, and then one for VIP. And the super VIP fans get to go to both. So I was like, okay, sure. I can check that out before I go to the show at the Warfield, and and then make it over to the Warfield, because they're like 3/4 of a mile from each other. And I know that's a little bit farther in San Francisco because you have hills that are very inclined also as part of the equation. I didn't care, but I was like, I'll park somewhere in the middle, and I'll make it to both. So the Lawrence show at the Masonic, their super VIP sound check and Q&A started at 5:30, but check-in was at 5, and so I'm just tripping, and as it's getting closer, and I'm just not moving because there's an accident on the Bay Bridge somewhere, and everything stopped. And so I'm inching along, and eventually get through the Bay Bridge, where there was a car stalled, in a middle lane. I wish they would have just pushed it over to the side, or someone would have helped them. I didn't have time. I wanted to. I would have loved to have helped them, but I had somewhere I had to be, and had been waiting for an hour already because of this inconvenience. So I wish some authority would have helped them. Anyway, get into the city. And I actually found a parking spot, which was in between the Warfield and the Masonic, which straight shot all on, one street from the Warfield to the Masonic, just again about 3/4 of a mile. And I found one that's closer to the Masonic, so I was able to get there, park on the street, and not pay $60 for parking in a garage, which I'm so stoked about, and then haul it over to the Masonic and get there in time for the super VIP set, which is really cool. They've asked the fans not to share any footage on social media or anything, so I won't be sharing any concert footage from that. They played a couple songs during the VIP set, took some questions. I didn't want to ask any questions necessarily because I've interviewed them before. I've had the chance to spend some time with Lawrence and became a fan of them after that. And I wanted to let the other fans have a chance to talk to their one of their favorite bands. And so, but I did record some footage. I enjoyed watching the sound check and hearing stories of how they made some of the songs and seeing how they interact with their fans. They had this great game in the VIP set of shooting, dividing the crowd into thirds and having them work with members of the band to get some nominees and shoot some baskets into a waste can and to decide what song would be added to the set list for the evening. But they took a couple of requests during the sound checks as well to play during those sound checks. Really fun. Had a great time. And then I wanted to hustle over to the Warfield. So I got out of that, stopped by my car, dropped off the signed merch that they gave, which was also very generous. And they gave a tote bag, a signed poster, signed notebook, and a pen to every fan. And dropped that off at the car, pounded a beer, and then ran the rest of the way to the Warfield. Got inside the Warfield and got a spot about 3 people back on the floor. And I was a little bit sweaty at that point, but didn't care. Made it in time for Zach Clark's set. He's the keyboardist for something corporate. He plays with Andrew McMahon a lot, and so he opened the set and had a nice set, just solo. It was pretty cool. And so he played, and then May played. I'm not a big May fan, but I've seen him a couple times now. They played multiple shows on this reunion tour for something corporate and are kind of that same era. So I know there are May fans in the crowd. I was talking to one right next to me who was more a fan of May than of something corporate, which was interesting to me. And then the show came on, and it was just a blast. And I'm not going to go into a ton of details. Usually I'll pack a show full of concert footage and all of that, but I'm not going to do that because, I've shared concert footage from something corporate before. I'll post some online, probably on YouTube, Concert Pipeline's YouTube page, maybe on Instagram. So check those out. Subscribe to the podcast as well, and you'll get updates when they have new content, which is frequently. And I was just really happy with the set. I talked to Andrew McMahon earlier in the week as part of a fan club, book club thing that he was doing. And then I asked him if he would learn a new song. Well, it was an old, deep cut that he hasn't played in a long time. And he said he would try. And so I was curious as to whether he would play it. He did not, but he did go through the crowd and he gave me a high five during the show. But that wasn't the coolest part. What I really enjoyed was seeing his daughter Cecilia come out on stage during Punk Rock Princess and sing part of that, as well as Josh Partington, guitarist for something corporate. His kids came out during that set as well. And Andrew, noted a lot of his family were there, including his mom, and pointed her out of the crowd. And then during the song 21 and Invincible, there's a line where he references his mom saying, "Son, you're much too young. Go have some fun. Don't waste your youth like I did." And then while the whole crowd's watching the set, I turned back to his mom, who was in the crowd, and watched her singing along to that line, which was just so awesome. Just so awesome to see mom so proud of her son. And I really enjoyed the set. It was the last day of the Out of Office tour for something corporate, and they're going to take a break. And Andrew's going to have a cruise next month with all 3 of his bands, and also they're going to be playing Red Rocks next year in Colorado, which I got a ticket to. So that they left me with something to look forward to. Super stoked on that. Something corporate, Jax Mannequin and Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, all 3 of his bands playing Red Rocks, and gives me something to look forward to next summer. So So stoked on that. All right, let's talk about Gemz. Again, I had the chance to interview Jen Wood and Ted Chen. We had such a fun chat and went deep. And I tried not to ask too many questions about Jen's involvement in Postal Service, but she's part of a song that I am a big fan of, and got to perform it with the Postal Service on tour just this past year. And I didn't get a chance to see that tour, which we'll talk about. But anyway, again, their new EP is called Sonic Ritual, comes out October 22nd. But let's get into my interview with Gemz.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Jen, Ted, how's it going?
Great. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Are you enjoying the heat yet?
No.
Yes. I'm ready for it to end. It's October and it's 100 degrees and it's just gnarly and gross and it's just like, yeah.
It's crazy. Where are you located, Aaron? Or Steve, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I'm up north. I'm in Vacaville, California, south Sacramento. Yeah, not too far from you, Ted. So.
Yeah. It was what was it yesterday? It was like 100 and something in Sebastopol yesterday. What's going on?
It's gnarly. It's gnarly. But you look like you're enjoying the outdoors, Ted. Like you're just relaxing on the swing and everything. What's not to enjoy, right?
Yeah.
It's not roasting yet, so we'll take it.
Yeah. It's like actually a little cloudy right here, so I'll take it for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a new, I love the background, Ted. I love that setting. That's a new one. I haven't seen this one, Steve.
No.
Yes.
This is the back patio. I have like a front patio where it kind of has this like sweeping view of Sonoma. And then this one is just kind of like, what you don't see behind me is like just a crap ton of stuff that still needs to go into storage. So it looks like a hoarder's house, but like here it's kind of nice. But there's some like vineyards to my right over here.
There you go. You get out to Russian River ever?
Yeah, I mean, not to the actual river. I mean, like we go hang out in Guerneville and make it down, and we spend a lot of time in like on the coast in Jenner and Bodega.
Yeah. I was supposed to go up to Jenner like last weekend and do some fishing actually up there, but the water was too choppy, so I like to kayak fish sometimes. And
that's cool. That's really
cool.
Well, I have to ask before we start the interview. I mean, where are you originally from? I'm going to guess, but I don't want to guess wrong.
Oh, okay. Oh, you want me to tell you, or are you guessing first? It's okay. You can like, originally from. Okay.
I mean, I would say Ireland.
Oh no, I've never been to Ireland. I mean, I am part Irish.
Scottish.
I am Irish Scottish. Yes.
You are. Okay. I'm picking that up.
Never been to either though. But it's in my lineage, and I'm sure the ginger beer doesn't.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I'm one shade shy of a leprechaun, so yeah.
Well, that's awesome because I have my necklace on. It says "Good luck," so I must have known.
Yes. Good luck indeed. But I'm mostly from Napa.
Okay.
Grew up there more so, and
nice.
Lived there for more so than anywhere. But
really? Oh, okay, awesome. Yep.
That's the other Irish, Scottish stronghold.
It is. Yes, right at home there. Yeah. Well, so I'm interested. I mean, I have a lot to talk about musically as well. So why don't we start from the beginning and work our way forward? So, Jen, why don't you tell me about music in your house as a kid? Like, what were your parents playing? What were some of those early kind of influences for you?
Oh, cool. That's a great question. Yeah, my parents were hippie classical musicians, velour, floral pattern outfits and clove cigarettes. And, it was a combination of Stravinsky and radical classical music mixed with like Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and Joan Baez. And so, I grew up basically in the orchestra pit. So, that's where I would hang out with my parents. The orchestra members would kind of babysit me. Sometimes I would apparently waddle up on stage and start conducting the orchestra. when I was very young, very little. So yeah, lots of music growing up, music night and day, all the time. And Interestingly enough, my parents had this really cool approach where they just didn't want to force music upon us. And also, I was raised by two moms, and then I have a dad who's also married, but I was mostly raised by two moms, and my mom's partner has two kids. So I kind of lovingly joke that it's the lesbian Brady Bunch. So my mom fell in love with her now wife in the orchestra pit. It was like love at first sight.
Music was playing.
Yeah, it was just like a lesbian like love story. It's just like this magical like, hippie orchestral romance. Unfortunately, their husbands, well, it all worked out because everybody's happy now and has found their person. But yeah, my moms, they didn't want to force music on us. So, I didn't really connect with an instrument, which was guitar, until I was 14. I didn't, I was actually really, I'm giving you way more information, Steve.
Yeah. No, it's good. We got time.
Got time. So yeah, so lots of music growing up. And then, yeah, I'll pause there. Yes.
Lots of music. Ted, lots of music for you growing up.
Yeah, well, first of all, like I love hearing that. I don't think I've heard that in that much detail about your sort of music history. So the things you find out on interviews, like
I know, we've been friends for so long.
I know.
Yes, this is going to be cool for us, Ted. Yeah, this is going to happen, these moments.
Yeah. So for me, like my parents weren't super musically inclined, um, but they were Asian, so they put me into piano and violin lessons at a very early age. My sister kind of carried on with violin,
When you were
and
6, right? Like that young?
yeah, like really, really, really young. I don't exactly remember the exact age. Maybe it was like 5 or 6, around that time. My sister continued, and she actually like joined like the local philharmonic and played at that level. For me, like I focused on piano, uh, classical piano, which I really did not enjoy for a long time, and then kind of moved to jazz, uh, where yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Like, and then I also studied or took like guitar lessons from this like metalhead. And so I learned of a lot of like Ozzy and Sabbath and Metallica early on. Um, but I think the thing that clicked for me, so one, I realized that like I just don't like taking lessons. Like it's just I that rinse and repeat of like a thing just like didn't interest me. But what I discovered was that I had an ear. I could play certain things by ear. Um, so the first moment that I remember was there was like this old Infinity commercial where Dave Brubeck's Take Five was like the backing track for it. And then like, and I was like, oh, I like that song. And so then I went to the piano and I basically learned how to tap it out just from what I heard, like from memory. It turned out that it was in a completely different key, but just that experience sort of like opened me up to this other area of like music creativity that I didn't know I had.
Mm.
Yeah.
And Bon Jovi's "Living on a Prayer" was it mixed in there somewhere too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So that was the first like
Mhm.
I guess essentially like a pop song, even though it's like rock and roll, but like it was the song like the first song that actually like that I could remember as being having some kind of like emotional tie to, like it was I think I was around 6 or 7 at the time too. And for some reason like just I don't know, like pop music, I think this just happens in a lot of people's lives. It just helps you kind of to orient yourself as you sort of find your way through life. And for me, is like, as an Asian American, like growing up in Jersey, like this was, yeah, definitely, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just connected to it. Yeah, it just stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bon Jovi's the Jersey band, right? It was them and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
them and Springsteen would be,
yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
big
the
one.
boss.
Yeah, exactly. Do you both remember? I mean, okay, so Jen, your first concert would have been, I mean, one where you're wandering on stage. But do you remember your one you went to like as a kind of a fan, one that you had control over?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So actually, I think my first show was like an indie underground punk rock show in Seattle. In Yeah, like in kind of a sketchy neighborhood. Like I think I snuck out. I broke the rules, and I mean, I'm trying to remember. I mean, the first show, the band names were pretty hilarious. I do remember one band name was called Aspirin Feast,
Nice. Yes.
and the other band I think was called Gas Huffer. They got kind of popular in Seattle. Some other band, but literally, it was my first show. I think I was 15. I didn't actually know. So I wasn't a fan. I didn't really know who they were. I think that's a great question. Gosh, the first show I went to as a fan. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that because I just went to so many, like, friends just invited me
Yeah.
out to so many shows. I'll get back to you on that, but that was my first show, was like a punk rock show.
Okay. Well, let's hit answer, and if you come up with another answer,
Yeah.
that's cool too. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Southeast in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I remember going like the first shows I remember going to were like ska bands actually. I
Hmm.
forget the venue, but there were a couple of venues that like kids in high school used to go to where they would allow people under 21, and like that was so it was yeah, just going to see a lot of like I don't Skank and Pickle. I don't remember
Oh, yeah.
exactly like
That's so
but just like yeah, so I was into ska for a little bit. I remember actually like going to my first punk show when I went to like I used to study art when I was younger, so I went to RISD for like a summer camp thing.
Yeah.
It actually happened to be the first year that the X Games um, put up like were broadcast, so they would like you could see people like speed rollerblading down the hill or whatever. But I remember going to like my first punk show there, and I think it was like Face to Face was playing, and but like first time in a mosh pit, it was pretty, it was pretty intense and awesome, and just like yeah, I don't know, that energy really stuck with me. My first real like concert was I saw REM when they were doing the Automatic for the People when they were touring for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first three concerts were weird. Like it was REM, and then I saw the Eagles
Uh-huh.
uh, on whatever like reunion tour that they were doing or whatever like anniversary tour, and then it was the fifth row of Tori Amos.
Oh my God, so good. I love it. I totally relate to this too, Steve, because it's kind of like what Ted said, it's kind of this odd mixture of show experiences, that actually helped listening to you, Ted, because then it was like, oh yeah, okay, like it reminded me. So, some of my first shows were seeing like Bikini Kill, Sleater Kinney, a lot of the Riot Girl music out of Olympia, Washington. Um, and then my first like stadium like big show was Depeche Mode.
Ah, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. I saw Depeche Mode in 2001, and I mean that was an incredible show. Also, I mean it was just really, really cool. Yeah.
they're such a great band, such a great band. And it was fun on the Postal Service tour because that was the encore song.
Yeah.
What was that Depeche Mode song, the Silence. Oh my gosh, I gotta be honest, I need more coffee. I'm still waking up. What's the name of the song? Oh my gosh, Silence.
Sound of Silence, or what? I'm trying to. No,
Yeah, because I know that's Simon and Garfunkel. I'm like, no, it's not.
no.
Go.
Oh, see, I know that on that tour they were doing the Depeche Mode cover too, and I mean,
All I ever
I'm gonna
wanted
look it up.
all I ever needed is yeah.
in my arms.
Enjoy the silence.
Thank you.
There you go. There you go. With the
Yes.
name, we could sing the whole thing, but I like the name. Yeah, I wouldn't have placed that name with that song, but I saw that. I think after the first date of that of the Postal Service Death Cab tour that they were doing that that cover. And
Yeah.
I really wanted to go to that tour. I had a ticket to go to that tour, and without going too far in depth, there was a falling out with a friend situation, and and so like we were supposed to go, and then he was going with his wife, and I was like, I can't go, but I mean, but I really I wanted to be at that show, and I was supposed to be, and you were, Jen. So
I was there. Yeah, I just did the West Coast portion, which was really fun. I had a blast. I did like 2 weeks of the West Coast. I'm so sorry you didn't get to go. And you know what? Friend breakups are part of adult life. They happen. We're just sort of like, I don't know what, obviously we're not going to go in detail, but part of this life is we outgrow people. It's kind of like we've learned what we needed to learn. And the hardest part sometimes is realizing it's time to let go of a friendship.
Yeah.
I feel for you. I've been.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. By the way, I do have an animal child. She just made a cameo appearance.
Made an appearance, yes.
Yes, and I need to give her a treat. I have to figure out how to do interviews. I'm like, I don't know.
She's like, I require treats every 20 minutes on the 20 minutes.
Honestly, pretty much, because she there she is.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, no worries if you need to step away for a second.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're not stepping away, I do want to hear about that tour because I mean, and I was going to get to it later, but tell me about that experience. I mean, I know you were with them many years ago, and
yes, yep, many years ago. Yeah, sang the first, at the Hall of Justice with Chris Walla in Seattle. And then I sang with them at their 10-year anniversary in Seattle, because that's where I used to live. And then it was just this very magical, serendipitous experience where they just reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to join us for 2 weeks on the West Coast? And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. Are you kidding me? Yes.
Is that even a question? Yeah.
Yeah, like is it even a question? Is it even a question? And I think one of the things I found myself sharing with friends or people who were asking me about how it was being on tour, what was it like, is the two words that I kept repeating were life-changing. Life-changing for me, because I'd only ever been, 10 years ago, I performed with them for 20,000 people. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't perform for huge stadium audiences. That's not, I'm like this, I like to kind of be indie, kind of keep things sort of a little low key. So it was an incredibly transformative experience, because I went through some healing, with this process. Like that tour helped me discover that I do have what it takes, and that I actually am built for that, to be on that platform. I think I didn't really know if I was cut out for that until I was put in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just like home. Like it just was naturally, I was just like, just flying. And everything was just very seamless. And I don't know, dude, it was just like a dream. It really was like floating on a little magical rainbow glitter cloud. It was amazing.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. And it's great to hear that it was like life-changing and really kind of had this impact on you and your kind of moving forward with your music and everything.
It actually really gave me so much more confidence in myself. Because I haven't released any of my own music for so long. I've been collaborating with other bands and like guest vocal here and doing other kind of very obscure projects that weren't really me. So, because I've been on a pretty epic, like inner healing, personal transformation growth journey. And so I really haven't, my last album was released in 2014.
Yeah.
So I've been pretty quiet. I've been like a little hermit, again, doing these little obscure, eclectic little releases. And then to be like the universe, like catapulting me in front of 20,000 people was just like mind blowing. I was like, what is this? And I was like, okay, like I'm a big believer in, flow not forcing, like be in the flow, don't force things. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty amazing. I was like, okay, well, I guess the universe wants me to get back into this. Okay. All
Yeah.
right, let's do it. Let's go. And then
Yeah.
I started working with Ted, and it was just effortless. And I everything just kind of has just been syncing up, in a really beautiful way.
Yeah.
I wanted to interject. I got to see her perform at the Greek when they were coming through Berkeley,
That's where I was supposed to
and
be. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I had a
yeah,
ticket.
you had a ticket.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I sold it.
Oh no.
But,
But yeah, it was amazing. Actually, the thing that I got that I kind of came out from that show was it was like the tour kind of felt like it was like this beautiful summer camp. And I remember actually like specifically like um after the show like hanging out with people, but like just uh seeing like and speaking with the parents actually of the artists. They were on tour. A lot of them were on tour with the artists as well. And just like how much sort of like love and support there was, and how like I mean how proud the parents were of like everyone that was on tour. And but they had formed their own sort of like little community as well. And I was just like, oh man, that's just like super cool. Just like to be on tour and to like be supportive and nurturing and healthy and not like burn out and get wasted every night or whatever, like the crazy rock and roll, which is fine. That's fine too. But it was nice to see like an alternative to that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you shared that. Totally. It was beautiful. Yeah, it was super cute. All the parents were on tour with the band. And yeah, this is a 20-year reunion, and like
yeah.
we grew up together. Like we've known each other since we were in our early 20s. And it was that summer camp vibe. What was so also amazing is that, we've all outgrown a lot of our old ways, partying here and there, whatever. So it was really cool because like we're all like everyone now is like super healthy, and which was just, I mean, it doesn't always work out that way, right?
Yeah.
Like it really doesn't. And so it was pretty awesome because like everyone now, like when for the reunion, it's like, wow, everyone is just like, living so healthy. Pretty much everyone stopped drinking. Nobody's doing anything crazy. Like, you know, like people are like avid, marathon runners, and it's just like it was really cool. It was really yeah, that was really special to see that, like that very loving, caring, yeah,
Or
healthy.
that you don't have to burn out like like a shooting star, right? It's like no, there's other ways to do this stuff. Like yeah, and we're
Yeah,
all getting older, so it's like
yeah.
yeah,
And what a
our
great,
priorities change.
right. And like again, like you said, Ted, no judgment. You know what I mean? We all go through our phases, right?
Hmm.
But I think what another aspect that's really lovely about Death Cab for Cutie and the Postal Service is that I think that they've become role models for this new paradigm of how you can be a successful artist, and how you can just live in general, like learning like healthy ways to cope with stress, rather than turning to alcohol and drugs. Like it's pretty cool. I think it's inspiring. So I am
Yeah.
gonna have
Yeah.
to step away
Okay.
for a second, but
Okay.
maybe I'll bring, maybe I don't know if so maybe I'll bring up, my dog. I can
You can
introduce.
bring her. She can. Yeah. She can make a cameo.
Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I can
So
talk
I'll
to
be
Ted. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll talk to Ted for a second. So yeah, no worries. Ted, tell me about the tiniest story that ever lived.
the tiniest story that ever lived. Oh, uh, what is? Wait. Let me
Oh,
try to understand this. Is this like?
so that and it wasn't meant to be a trick question, but but that was a poetry site that you had, right?
No, no, I
No.
don't think. Wait, the
Okay.
tiniest story that ever
Hey,
lived.
baby, that's me.
Is that, oh, is that you, Jen?
Oh, that's Jen.
How do you know about that? Oh my God, save that for later.
Okay, I'm sorry. I blew that good question on.
I was like,
but
walking, I was
Wrong.
like, to give a Boomy a snack, right? Like walking away to like give her a treat snack. And I hear that and I'm like, I can't believe you're talking about that. Hold on, I'll be right back.
okay. Sorry. No, it's not.
Wrong
Okay,
punchline on the wrong person.
wrong punchline. Okay, well, how about tell me about touring in Japan with the Stereo Future? That one probably is
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was amazing. So we got introduced to this band called the Pillows, and they're pretty big in Japan. Like they got really popular because their music was featured in this anime called FLCL, Furikuri. I don't know if you're into anime, but it was like this, big studio. It kind of blew up. And they did a Japan tour where they brought a bunch of other like Japanese bands through. Um, and One of my bandmates actually studied in Japan for a year, and so and he spoke fairly fluently, and it just like happened out of just talking with them. Like my friend was speaking in Japanese, and then we had another friend a Japanese friend of ours, and somehow just kind of like got it worked out where like we were like, cool, this is cool. Like let's see if we can work together. So we did a US tour with one of their bands on this label. It's called Delicious Labels, like a small indie label. But the band was called Noodles, and they were fantastic, like really, really awesome, all female sort of like um, indie rock band. Um, and then the label invited us to kind of tour there a couple times, and we recorded an EP while we were out there during one of our tours. But it was definitely like kind of a whirlwind kind of thing. We had just started playing out in Seattle maybe a few months or whatever, and all of a sudden we were like flying ourselves out to Japan. And like I remember like our first show there was like to 3,000 people. Um,
Wow.
and and then it was funny because like then when we were the rest of the tour, as we were sort of walking around like not playing shows, like people would start to recognize us, and then that was like the weirdest feeling to be like, how do you wait, oh, you were at the other show, and now like now that you're a fan, like that was so yeah, interesting and novel. Like it was just I mean, yeah, I don't know, it was amazing, like
Yeah.
actually. But like you're in your 20s, you don't really know how amazing it is until you like look back on it and be like, how did we do that?
What an experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was amazing. Like we were there for like I think 3 week stint. So like the first tour was 3 weeks. The second one was a little bit longer because we were recording. And just even to be in a studio in Japan, like recording an EP,
Yeah.
like I just remember like, of course there are long hours when you're recording, but then like stepping out and like going to the 7-Eleven to like find some kind of snack or like yeah, just
They have the best snacks.
the 7-Elevens there are like no joke. Like you can't sleep on them. And actually they're starting to bring some of the quality in the food because it's a Japanese owned company, 7-Eleven.
Oh, okay.
But they're starting to bring them into the US 7-Eleven. So hopefully start to see better sort of like
My God,
yeah,
are you
yeah,
kidding me? Oh,
yeah.
amazing! Because I also toured in Japan once upon a time, a long time ago, back in 2004. So Ted and I share that you know amazing blessing. I mean, yeah, incredible. But the 7-Eleven snacks, the seaweed rice wraps with the salmon inside, or the bean paste, or I can't remember what they're called. Like lived off those from 7-Eleven. They're so
Yeah,
good.
Wow.
onigiri,
What are they called?
onigiri.
Oh, nigiri. Yeah, and
Yeah,
they were like super fresh, like the 7-Elevens in Japan. It's good quality stuff. It's like good quality.
it's amazing.
I
No,
thought,
no, actually, it's really good quality. Like, there's all these there's like blogs and like foodie sites
oh my
devoted to like
God.
7-Eleven discoveries now. Yeah,
I
yeah,
am so excited about this. You have no idea because I miss that food. I miss it.
me
Oh,
too,
Got
actually.
Yeah.
You gotta get Gemz out to Japan, huh? So,
Yeah, let's get Gemz out to Japan for sure.
Oh my
Or
gosh,
Gemz
yeah.
is gonna play a show at a 7-Eleven in California, and we're gonna
Let's
we can get a food sponsorship.
yeah, well, let's get sponsored by 7-Eleven.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then we could do
Well,
like a yeah,
you make your
7-Eleven
own
tour.
coffee, and then they'll do it because that's what Green Day did, and they were just at the 7-Eleven in Pinole like last week after after they
Yeah,
played
that's
here. So
right. Crazy story. I was actually supposed to go to I saw, I went to your YouTube, I checked out your podcast a bit, of
oh,
course,
thank
'cause
you.
I was to do that, and really enjoyed it. And I saw you went to Green Day. I was
I
supposed to
did.
go to that show. I was
So
supposed
so I was supposed to go to your show, and then you're supposed to go to the one that.
That's so funny. I thought about that. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Steve was at that show. Like I was supposed to be at that show, and
Yeah.
I wasn't able to go because of the fires. There was a bunch of fires
Mm.
here because of the heat wave. And I last minute canceled. I was really bummed. Um, but
It,
yeah,
it was a great show. It was a great show, and yeah, and if you, I mean, I talked about it in the episode, but I was there 20 years before when they were playing at the Giant Stadium. Touring American Idiot, and then 2 weeks later they played a show at the Warfield, which is just bonkers. I got to see them in the
cool. At the Warfield, that's like a smaller venue, right?
much smaller. Yeah, yeah. So the Giant Stadium, 50,000 people, Warfield 2,500, and I was on the floor up close, and they played as a network and their side band and opened for themselves. It was just one of the most amazing concerts of all time. So.
That's that's so rad. I have a little like tiny little story about them because Tattletale, like my first band, um, Billy Joe's side project, Pinhead Gunpowder,
Yeah.
asked us to open for them at Gilman Street.
Oh my gosh. No way. Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, and so, anyways, I mean, just a quick, I'll keep it really short, but so basically, here we are, two high school girls, opening for Pinhead Gunpowder, and the show went great. I think it was, yeah, it was Gilman, I think it was Gilman Street. And then after the show, Billy Joe walked up to me and just like complimented us on our set. He was like, you guys were amazing. He thanked us. He was like, thank you. He was very appreciative and like just so considerate, and I didn't realize he was kind of a fan. I just
Yeah.
as he was talking to me, I was processing it, and I didn't really have time until afterwards to be like, oh my God, what? Wait a minute. Like it didn't really click. I mean, I was like 16 or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he was really cool to me, and it was so genuine, and it meant a lot. It meant a lot to have these dudes who were like, on these big platforms, who had all these accolades, to invite, young female women to share the stage, to help give us a voice. Like that was pretty amazing. Yeah.
That is really incredible. I mean, what a cool experience for sure. So
It was really cool. It was really cool. I'm very, very lucky for that experience. And yeah. Yeah. So I'm bummed I missed the Green Day because I was like, Dad, that would have been like a cool, like full circle moment.
oh yeah, playing Dookie in its entirety and American Idiot in its entirety, 38 song set. It was a show, and
Wow.
I mean, it's one of those shows. It ties into what Postal Service and Death Cab are doing. Yeah, I mean, these shows where bands kind of go back and and kind of pay respect to an album that's so pivotal to their fans. I mean, is just this really. I mean, it feels really unique. But there's a lot of bands that do it still. I mean, Weezer is going to be here next week doing the Blue album, But it's still this moment that you just feel like you're part of something special, and can only imagine being on stage and being a part of that. And one of the last 20 questions I have about the Postal Service period, and then we'll get
it's all good.
But I mean, but tell me about kind of recording on that. You were on the recordings, right? Because
Right.
Such Great Heights is such an amazing song. I love that song so much. But tell me kind of about being part of recording.
Yeah. So, well, this is kind of another story where, you know, how I was saying Billy Joe, I didn't realize he was, you know, kind of a fan of Tattletale, my first band. Well, I didn't know that Ben Gibbard was also kind of a fan of, you know, like he knew about my music before I knew him. And then Death Cab for Cutie and me and my band, we all became friends and all that. But, you know, I remember being pretty surprised when I got like an email, you know, asking if I wanted to sing on a couple songs for this side project, you know. And at that time, I don't think they even had a name yet. Him and Jimmy had. And so, you know, Ben mails me a CD. We live in the same city, but he mails me a CD. And I get the CD and I put it in my CD player and I was like, what is this magic? Like I literally, you know what I mean? It was like a 0 to 11 moment on the volume, right? It was like Spinal Tap. Like I just cranked it up and like totally had this dance party in my little basement apartment. I was living in a house with like 5 other girls. And it was, you know, right away, the energy just like hit me, right? Which clearly it's had that effect on the world, right? Yeah. So it was like, whoa, like right away. I was like, this is really cool. And then, and then we booked the recording session at the Hall of Justice in Seattle, which is still around to this day, which is cool. And I got a cold, but I was adamant and determined. You know, I knew this was like a really kind of a cool opportunity for me. And I was like, I didn't want to cancel. So I show up to the studio kind of sick. I was like, hey guys, you know, I kind of have a cold, I'm a little stuffed up, but we'll try it. And after like probably 5 takes, they were like, Jen, you need to go home and like, take care of yourself, girl. Like you're sick. You can't. I was like, no. Like I remember being like, oh my God, I missed my opportunity. Like they're not, and they're like, no, just we'll reschedule, come on back. So then I came on back and then we recorded those and then Jenny Lewis has like carried the torch for me. You know, she's been singing my parts for many, many years.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I mean, there's many more stories, but yeah, Such Great Heights is a very special song to me. And then Nothing Better, you know, is the duet song that I sang on. Yeah, and there's been so much confusion, understandably, over the years because we have a Jenny and a Jen. And you know, I feel bad for you guys out there, the press and the media, because, you know, I remember them getting Jenny and I mixed up quite a bit, going, oh, Jen Wood's on stage. And I'm like, no, that was Jenny Lewis. It wasn't me. And then that's just like, But,
Well, that's super cool. Super cool. Okay. So before we move on to Gemz, the tiniest story that ever lived, go ahead.
How did you?
This is what I do. So I dig.
You did the research. You found that. That is crazy. That is so wild. So Ted doesn't even know about this. Ted does not even, nobody knows about this.
I know. I quizzed Ted and he was like, wait, what?
I was like, oh, I'm not sure what that's supposed to, I'm supposed to answer that one, but yeah.
I would have liked you to make something up on the fly though. That would have been,
Next time. If anybody, well, we're prepared now, Ted. If somebody brings that up again, ask you, you can just make up a story and then I can answer. That's really wild because it's kind of like this little secret of mine that nobody really knows, but I guess
now.
Until now, look at you. Okay, all right, Steve. So I created this little secret Tumblr account of poetry, like little tiny mini baby haikus. And it's called The Tiniest Story That Ever Lived. And it is the tiniest, they are the tiniest stories that ever lived. It's just kind of floating in the ether. It's out there, you know? So I think the last time I posted anything must have been back in 2013 or 14.
Before you stopped, making your own music, like right around that time.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I've always loved poetry. I've always just, songwriters, poetry, songwriting is like go hand in hand. Before I became a songwriter, I was always a writer and into writing and reading and poetry and, you know, so yeah, it was cool to kind of have that little secret world.
Yeah, yeah.
Might have to bring back some of those into some lyrics, into
Yeah, I
some new
should show that
songs.
to you, Ted. It was funny because one of my students, I teach music virtually all around the country and even a student in Japan.
Japan. Yeah.
Yep. But one of my students somehow found out about that account because they have a Tumblr account and they, clever. It's not that tough to figure, but yeah. So that's that. The tiniest story
Mhm.
that ever lived. It's there.
It's a good story. I like it. Uh, yeah, and so on to Gems. So you two have known each other for like 20 years. But how did Gems come about? Like, where at what point did you kind of identify? Okay, we want to actually make music together. I know there was a song in 2017, voice memo that you were working on, Jen. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a while. Like, you know, I used to work at a video store in Seattle called Scarecrow Video, and it's like this like haven for like digital and analog sort of like, you know, yeah, film, like physical film and
like, what's a video store? I don't understand.
And
yeah, exactly.
real quick, I'm just gonna interject, like Scarecrow Video in Seattle is where so many musicians worked there. So it was a community of a lot of musicians. Like pretty much everyone I knew who worked at Scarecrow Video was in a band. All right, Ted, back to you.
I mean, that was the irony of it. Like working there, I realized that all of my coworkers were in bands, and so that's how I got into the music scene in Seattle was through my video peeps. And that's how I met Jen originally was like I think just through friends of friends and hanging out at house parties, people having like having shows. We just kind of run into each other. Um, and then like a little bit of the backstory, like Jen attended the first show that I ever performed for. I had two bands, the Stereo Future and then the Long Ranger, which was like an electro pop band. We put on our first own little house party in our basement, and then another band called the Maldives was their first show. Jason Dodson was a coworker of mine at the time, so that was like all of our first shows. And then yeah, we just knew each other from around the scene for I don't know lots of years, and then, until like you put out your
Wilderness.
yeah you
Mhm.
put out Wilderness, and then I fell in love with the song Fell in Love, and I hit her up and
Yep.
was like, hey, this was around the time where like a lot of my bands and my own personal projects were winding down. And so I was kind of like in this sort of like open space where I was like into maybe the idea of remixing stuff and sort of experimenting with that. And then, yeah, I fell in love and I hit her up and I was like, I would love to remix this. And so, we did that. And it's just been sort of like this slow kind of organic growth since then, until like yeah this past year or so where we were like okay no let's really do this.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
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 Cool. I mean, I just like looking back, Steve, it's just so wild that like I just happened to be at Ted's first show,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I really don't believe in coincidences. I think there are, but I think there's this I do believe like in destiny, there's like a fate. There's like different, we have free will. There's different timelines that you can be on, but like Ted and I working together was destined to happen. I mean, it's just like looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, all these points in our lives where we just the universe kept, you know what I mean? Like having us like meet and join and like work on little things and then we'd separate and then we'd, connect again. And it was never forced, ever. It was just a very, synchronistic, serendipitous kind of thing. And I remember when, I signed to Sonic Ritual Records. And I was talking with Todrick, the founder of Sonic Ritual, about like what I was going to do with all these songs, like what direction we were going to go in.
Yeah.
And and we started talking about, should I do kind of like sort of my typical indie sort of solo vibe or something different? And I have always loved dance music, dance, pop, all of it. I mean, since I was a kid, always. Um, and maybe it was even the remixes. I feel like I probably sent Todrick your remix, Ted, of Fell in Love. And I think I just wanted and needed to do something that was just happier, just like little more sparkly, little more upbeat. Like I really just was in a place in my life where I didn't want to like feel more sad or more down, especially with the pandemic and everything was around this time. It's like, no, no, no. Like I want to help increase the joyfulness. Let's like, like get things like feeling better and. So anyways, I'm babbling, but
Well, no, I mean, so I mean that leads into the music, right? So younger, I mean, is kind of it has that feel. It's. I mean, that's the message there. It's about loving life again through your younger self, kind of, right? So like this real positive.
it's very positive and I couldn't have, you know what I mean? Ted is the person, I call him a wizard all the time. I think he's an absolute genius. But he was the person that knew how to transmute and transform my songs and like add more lightness and like joyfulness. But when I was talking to Todrick about the song and like what direction to go in, I was like, well, hey, I've got this song called Younger that Ted and I we had like a little sketch of it, right, Ted? Like a little sketch.
Yeah, we had like a rough demo of it.
And I'm sitting out in my patio and it's like, I'm looking up in the sky and I'm on the phone with Todrick. I'm like, I sent the song to Todrick, Younger. And I was like, kind of nervous. 'Cause I was like, what do you think? Because I was pitching the idea like, hey, let's do like a dance pop album. And Todrick is like, Jen, I love the idea. And I was like, really? I just had like chills. I was like, oh my God. Right in that moment, Steve,
Yeah.
no joke. Like it was a Truman Show moment because right when that happened, I literally saw like 8 white doves fly across, like right in front of me, out of fucking nowhere. Like no such thing as white doves here. Like
No, where did they come from? Yeah.
I don't know where they came from. It was absolutely just dream surreal. And I was like, that is a sign. There's no denying that. And I told Ted that. I was like, Ted, you're never going to believe this. The minute that Todrick said, yes, let's do a dance pop album, I saw like 8 white doves fly in front of me.
Yeah. Had you heard that before, Ted, or was that?
Oh no, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We talk a lot about sort of like, part of our music making process is just talking about all the amazing kind of synchronicities of life and, just, I don't know, just experiencing magic as we're living and just, celebrating that. I
Yeah.
think, and I think that's also part of the magic of the music too. Is that like, yeah, like Jen said, like we're some of the subject matter is pretty deep and can get a little dark, but also that like the point of this is not to ignore that, but rather like celebrate it, right? Celebrate that and also celebrate sort of the contrasts. So yes, the subject matter can be a bit serious, but also that like we can put energy behind it. We can kind of like aim that and dance to a little bit. I think that's like, I don't know. Ultimately, I think that's sort of the energy behind it is around kind of empowerment and kind of like, yeah, this is everyone has this, right? Everyone goes through life. It's and the highs and lows. Let's celebrate all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't wait for the EP to come out. I just have no idea what people are gonna I have no idea what people are gonna think. I mean, you've heard it.
Yeah. I dig it. I think it's really good, and it's not the same as your solo music either, Jen. I mean, it's definitely a new kind of approach and sound, and that obviously that's what Ted brings a lot of that to it as well. But I dig it. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. And it's Sonic Ritual. I guess I don't know if we said the name of it, but it's coming out on October 22nd, so right around the corner. And you're working on a full length also. What can you tell me about that?
Well, I mean, we have tons of ideas. I actually am writing a lot of new material right now, but we also even have like other ideas. So yeah, I mean, it's a work in progress. I know that Ted and I were talking about like scheduling. We just need to, because we live in different towns.
Hmm.
So, ironically, it's like sort of a postal service situation. It's like the long, and which is just the way things are now, like long distance music collaboration, artistic collaboration. At least we live in the same state. We both live in California. But yeah, Ted and I have been talking about scheduling like some studio time together to start working on that. One of the
Yeah,
things I love that being on an indie label is that like Todrick is just so easygoing and chill. It's pretty low pressure where he's like, you guys just, like, let's make an album, let's do this. But there's not, we don't have an actual like official timeline on when the album's going to be released. Definitely, I
Hmm.
mean, 2025 sometime. But I mean, we're definitely Gems and my solo stuff. I've always been just really big on like quality and taking the time, to create something really, really great and something that we're really proud of. So yeah, it's happening. It's happening. And actually the other thing too, Steve, is that so the vision has always been, Todrick and I, is that I'm gonna actually, I don't know if we're gonna stick with this, that I'm gonna make 2 albums. So with the same songs. So which could maybe be like a double vinyl thing, which would be really
Yeah,
cool.
A side, B side. Yeah.
Right. So like, and this was Todrick's idea, which is absolutely brilliant, is like, okay, do the dance pop, which, and then take all those songs and do them like the old school, like, the Jen Wood way,
Yeah.
more acoustic, stripped down, more indie, but with reimagine those songs, that way. So we'll see. I mean, I would love to do that, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I,
yeah. I think part of the fun of writing this album is that like a lot of it we don't know. Like honestly, like I didn't know that the songs were gonna, in the EP were gonna come out as they are. But I think, part of the fun of that is just kind of allowing ourselves the full range of opportunity to kind of like listen to the music and listen to sort of where do we want to take it, right? And so, yeah. So I don't know. Like we're working on an album, but as far as like what the final album thing is, or the themes around that, or like the sonic character of that, like who knows? I mean, likely it'll be very similar to sort of what we're already creating, right? But
yeah.
like, it's always nice to just kind of give yourself that openness to say, okay, like, come to this without your, preconceived notions or expectations of what it should be, and just like really listen to like what is it telling you that it wants to be,
Right.
Mm,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
he's a wizard.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. No, I like that, and I like the approach, the idea of having 2 different versions of the same album too. I mean, Bleachers did that with their Strange Desire album, and they've reinvented it kind of twice now at this point. Like Jack Antonoff did it once afterwards with all female vocalists, because that's how he envisions it. When he writes the songs, is like a female singing it. Uh, yeah, and then recently just kind of went back and reimagined the songs and kind of stripped them down a bit as well, and that was pretty awesome too for an album that I
I'm
really
not
didn't think.
familiar with them. I'll check them
Uh,
out. Bleachers?
Yeah.
Bleachers, yeah. So Jack
Like,
Antonoff, he's won like 40 Grammys or something, like
yeah, he produced all of like Taylor Swift's
yeah,
hits and all of that.
Taylor Swift, a lot of female musicians like the Dixie Chicks or whatever they go by now, and Sarah Bareilles maybe, I don't know, stuff like
Yeah, she's got a great voice.
yeah.
Bleach,
So
thank you. I've never even checked this out. So
Strange Desire, by the way, is the album. Like that album it's just incredible, and
I wonder where Todrick got the idea, maybe.
maybe ask, yeah, that's what I think.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty creative, but yeah, I don't know. That's the best album. So start start
it.
at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something like a trait with producers, but like I'm always listening to stuff, and even if it's like a complete and finished song, I'm always thinking about like how could this be reinterpreted as a song? So even like, I mean, that was part of why I hit Jen up to do the remix of Fell in Love. Um, and even with my own songs, I'm always constantly working. I have like, backlog of hundreds of things and kind of stitching stuff together and then breaking them apart. So like nothing is final or sacred in my mind. There's always an opportunity to kind of like reimagine something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live shows, any of those lined up to play these songs?
We're planning on it. Nothing lined up yet, but like that's part of the keeping ourselves open.
Keeping it fluid,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
We're working on a mystery. Saying that, yeah. I would love to. I think Ted and I, we'd love to play some live shows. We've been talking about it. I think we're just like when it's meant to be, it's going to happen. I really also giving a lot of thought to how the kind of like environment I want to create for a live experience. I want to approach it in a different way, and I want to make it really intentional and special, and so I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited for whenever our first show happens. I'm guessing 2025 sometime. It's gonna happen. We have to. We're signed to a label, so it's like
Gotta do it. Yeah.
it's part of the expectation and part of the deal, and I am looking forward to it. But yeah, no date set, but can't wait for that moment. I know it's gonna be a really special experience for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how these will translate into like a live performance. Like the productions, like I'm listening to the productions, like, oh man, these are kind of massive. Like there's a lot of space, a lot of instrumentation.
Yeah.
And just excited to see like, how we tackle that live. I think it's gonna be really exciting. We need to grow like extra set of arms and stuff or whatever.
Yeah. Might need some extra players, huh? So
Yeah.
Yes.
But it'll be fun.
Yeah. And Jen, Ted, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. And it was a lot of fun. And Jen, did you want to introduce your furry friend?
Oh yeah, let's do that. That'd be amazing. Oh my gosh, this is her moment.
The first podcast.
Cameo.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, boom. Oh my gosh, Boomy, are you ready for a first interview? Hold on a second. She's like, right. So I'm sitting at my piano, which you don't know that, but underneath, she's on a pillow right underneath my piano. Hold on a second. Oh, she's a little bit of a scruffy mess right now. This is my baby.
Aw.
Say hi to the world. This is Boomy.
Hi, Boomy.
Hi,
Yes.
Boomy.
Hey.
She's a little scruffy. She's sleepy. She's 14. She's an old lady. But yeah,
Aw.
my baby. Yeah.
Very cute. Very cute. Yes.
Very-
Yes. Well, thank you both for taking the time. It was a lot of fun and digging into the music and your histories and history together, and obviously Gemz.
Yeah, this was very sweet. Really appreciate it. It was lovely to chat with you, and thank you for all the thoughtful questions and for discovering the tiniest story that ever lived. I'm not going to forget that. I will not forget that.
No, that'll stick around. So, and maybe make its way into your music. So.
Actually, yeah, maybe I know Ted and I are going to connect on that. Maybe it will. So if you hear a song.
I think it's going to happen. Yeah. We'll credit it to you, Steve.
Just credit in the liner notes, so.
Yeah.
Got it. Of course. Absolutely will do, Steve. Yeah.
Fair. Well, good luck with the EP release in a couple weeks. And hopefully we're hearing good things from you soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
That was my interview with Gemz here on Concert Pipeline. And that takes us to the final segment on the program, the music news. Okay, got a couple stories to wind out the program today. I'm just going to really try and hit the highlights because this episode was jam-packed with a lengthy interview. So Oasis, of course, doing their tour next year, and of course they're going to be in the news every week until that happens. They were parodied on SNL. My understanding is they weren't too fond of the parody, didn't think it was too funny. The parody made fun of their feud together that they had and just cracked jokes about it, and was lighthearted and not rude or insensitive or anything along those lines. I mean, really, they had two brothers had this 20-year feud or whatever it was, and they can't laugh at themselves, take it lighthearted. It's a problem. But addiction counselors have claimed that Oasis fans have already stashed drugs in Manchester's Heaton Park ahead of the reunion shows. Liam Gallagher responded to the news saying, "I did it years ago when I went to see the Pope in HP. It's not a new thing." But that's insane because I don't think these shows are for a long time. So who's going to be putting drugs there and expecting them to be there a year later? That's crazy, but good on them, I guess. So, all right. Metallica don't want to be a legacy band that just play their greatest hits, says James Hetfield. He said, "We know people want to hear the best of, and you got to challenge them to listen to some of the new stuff as well." I think you mean 4 songs down their throat. No, yeah, you should definitely be pulling out some new stuff on a tour where you have new music, of course, and fans should expect to hear new songs from a band that has new music. That's just part of what you're in for. But if you have the hits, play the hits also. That's what fans want to see, and that's going to make the show so much better, make the crowd so much more lively, and everybody's going to be happy except maybe the band that is playing Enter Sandman for the 800,000th time or whatever it is. So, but that's their stance. The All American Rejects pulled out of When We Were Young festival, which is happening next weekend. It's a pop punk emo festival in Vegas, which I would love to go to sometime. Maybe I will. I don't know. Vegas doesn't really do it for me, but if the right lineup and bands play, then maybe I'll end up there. And if I'm visiting a friend or something too, that can do it. But they pulled out following festival management change, and I saw them post this on social media. They shared it on their Instagram. "We've spent months tirelessly preparing a once-in-a-lifetime show that we were so excited to bring you. However, there's been a management change within the When We Were Young operation, and they are no longer able to accommodate us in the previously agreed upon lineup, which has made it impossible for us to continue. We are especially devastated to not get to play for those of you who are traveling across the globe to witness the visual and sonic spectacle we've been brewing up in our cauldron. We'd like to apologize to our amazing crew who have been working around the clock to make magic happen." That's the story, really. But there's a lot of bands that are playing albums in full at When We Were Young Festival, including My Chemical Romance, their 2006 album, The Black Parade, Jimmy Eat World's Bleed American, Dashboard Confessional's Desk in Summer. Fall Out Boy is going to play a classic album live, but it hasn't been confirmed which one yet. And there's always a great lineup, at When We Were Young Festival. And it boggles my mind because it's like, tickets are outrageously expensive, and there's so many bands that I want to see. There's no way to see all the bands that you want to, and so you have to pick and choose. And it's all summed up in like one day, I think. So if you want to see the bands you want to see, I think they have multiple days of the festival where they're doing pretty much the same thing. You got to go multiple days, and I'm like, I don't know, man, I'm not about it. R. Kelly's daughter accuses him of sexually abusing her as a child. She said, "I was too scared to tell anybody." I'm just going to leave that one. I wanted to throw it out in the wind and say that R. Kelly and P. Diddy not having great times right now, not in the spotlight and not doing so well. All right. Sum 41's Derek Whibley said he, Paris Hilton, Scott Weiland, and Byron McMacken, once pretended to have an orgy to escape police drug bust. So he was on this podcast, the Ali Hagendorf podcast. Earlier this week, Whibley released his memoir, Walking Disaster, My Life Through Heaven and Hell. He shared candid moments from his career as a frontman of the punk band, who will disband after concluding their ongoing tour of the Setting Sun World Tour in January 2025. So he shared that Hilton pulled out cocaine that was the purest, most amazing blow he'd ever had. It wasn't edgy. It wasn't speedy. It didn't feel my heart racing at all. I just felt fucking incredible. The group were hanging out until someone had burst through the door yelling, "The cops are here, busting people for drugs." He said he jumped up to flush the drugs or hide or something, while Hilton had been calmly clearing the mountain of coke into her bag, while Weiland sat completely unfazed. And he came up with, Derek Whibley came up with a brilliant plan. All four of us should jump in the bed, get under the covers, and pretend like we're having an orgy. So when the cops come in, they'll think we're having gross sex and leave us alone. And everyone who was also high thought it was a perfect plan. And Weiland started undoing his pants, thinking they were actually going to do it. After about 15 minutes of our pretend orgy, we heard music playing and people talking. Someone had just panicked when the cops showed up for a noise complaint, and they were safe. So, probably many more stories in Derek Whibley's memoir that you can read about. But I actually saw him and Paris Hilton backstage with Fat Mike of NoFX at 1 year at Warped Tour when I was back there, and I recorded a little video of them backstage, which is cool, I guess. And I met Whibley briefly and got him to do a promo for my old TV show. So pretty cool. All right, that is our show for today. We have a lot more coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have Fruition. They're going to be on the program. We have Novo Combo. They're going to be on the program, and more in the works. So for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.